Welcome to a Like Clockwork interlude. I am Danny, your dungeon master for Like Clockwork, and today I am Nugatza Senato, great gnomish inventor, and we're here with Sarah, who has called a special meeting, a midnight meeting, if you will, with said Nugatza Senato. And we didn't get a chance to get to that on Sunday night's game, and we'll be moving forward next Sunday. So we're going to see what Shaelune wanted to tell him right now. So, without further ado, here we go. It's getting later. Most folks have gone to bed, and it's very quiet inside the Blue Joke Lodge. However, normally asleep by this time, but not asleep, is Shaelune. And as she peers through various journals and books, she feels a sort of tug in the back of her mind, a signal from Minya, who is posted outside, that someone she was expecting to see is arriving, along with 2 or maybe 3 other individuals.
I scurry very quietly out of bed and use all of my sneaking ability possible to head out.
As you step outside of the lodge, you do see Nugatza Senato, along with the woman that was there at dinner, Callus, and another individual that, well, you've been traveling enough to know an armed guard escort when you see one. And this man stands several feet behind, his eyes scanning around in the darkness. As Nugatsa kind of looks past you towards the lodge and then back at you. Oh, you are an interesting one, Miss Flaglight. I must admit, I'm a bit intrigued that you asked to meet up like this. I might not have, were it not for some rather cryptic messages from your friend, Helio, was it?
They left you a message, huh?
Yes, it's one that I will leave between all of you and myself. I don't believe it needs to be said aloud, and indeed, more often that is spoken aloud, I think the less well it goes for your lot. Um, but it is interesting, and I am intrigued, to say the least.
Is there a safe place we can go to talk?
Hmm. Well, um, let us. I believe we passed some tables. Did we not, Callus? She nods. Yes, we did. That should serve. Very good, very good. Yes. Follow us then. And then with that, he turns, and you only walk about 3 minutes until you find what amounts to a park. There are a few tables, and it's very open. You can see that there are a few like late night folks that are out late enjoying the park. He doesn't seem too mindful of them as he sits down at one of the tables. The guard takes a position several feet away once again, and Callus reaches into a satchel that she's carrying and pulls out a small, it looks like a crystal sphere of some sort. And she sets it on the table where Nugatza is sitting, and then she gives him a nod and steps back, joining the guard. And Nugatza beckons you to sit down on the other side of the table from him.
I approach, looking curiously at the orb.
As you approach the table, he kind of presses down at the base, and then you hear this sort of like humming sound just sort of emit outward from the crystal. Well, there we go. That will generate enough ambient sound that someone would have to be practically on top of us to hear what we had to say.
Minya, why don't you go keep an eye out too?
Oh, it's yeah, interesting creature there.
She's from the Shadow Fae.
I figured as much. No such species recorded, although I suppose it's possible it's from the new continent. But still, uh, Shadow Fae makes sense to me. Well, all right then, young lady. What is it that is on your mind?
Well, first, I know you said at dinner, and I just want to make absolutely sure you want to know, because once you know, there's no going back on not knowing, and we've been hunted for a long time because of what we know. And so, if anyone who does know is in danger, that includes Callus, that includes the gentleman that was at dinner, anyone.
I will say that sounds quite ominous, and I honestly cannot truly assess the extent to which this level of danger arises without knowing. Still, I think from what I've seen of you and your friends that perhaps it's about time you had someone listen to you.
She like closes her eyes, and she like, it's such a relief for Shaelune, the lawful good, that like, to have someone of a like authority, an adult, take interest, want to help, want to listen, and like take some of this burden. So she's just really relieved, excited is the wrong word, but she kind of takes a big sigh and nods, like reapproving of her decision to do this. And all right, here we go. Stop me if you have questions. I am from Desarin, and I went to the university there, and I was studying magic. I got powers after the cataclysm. Well, the not the cataclysm, the storm dissipated and all, and I was of the first class to go to the university. And
Yeah, yes.
and my parents were tinkerers, so I have the engineering knack, and that was probably what I would have ended up going into if not for magic. Um, Back when I dreamed of more, and now all I do is dream of less. But one day at the school, there was a visitor, a human, and seemed important, kind of mean. I still don't know what he does. His name was, I can't recall his first name, but the last name was Arturis. And I looked to see if that's recognizable to him.
Carissa from Discern.
I don't know if he's from
That
Desarin.
rings a bell.
He has evil goatee.
Oh, well, that is one way to recognize a threat.
It wasn't a threat, except he was very hostile and seemed to be sneaking around a bit as well. I saw him sneak out of a door to the basement of the school, which, I mean, if you're a guest, you have no reason to be there. And so curiosity got the better of me, and I went looking. I found a secret door behind a bookshelf, which was really neat originally, until it wasn't. But when I went inside, there were dead bodies walking. There was a woman splayed out dead on a table with a ritual circle around her. And the dead men were shambling and slow. But I hid and made a distraction so I could get past them. Luckily, again, they were slow, so I was able to run. I went and got my professor and showed her, and we fought them. They were able to be destroyed with fire.
These were corpses.
They smelled awful, and like muscle was showing through, and bone, and their eyes were white, and their hair had been falling out in patches, and just the stench. I've never smelled anything like it. We looked at his papers, the papers, assuming allegedly from Arturis, and it was all this ritual magic about dead, reviving the dead, but not in a way that was like, they're not who they were. They're mindless, and they're someone is controlling them, and such. And we call it deadomancy. But after that, my professor and I, it was Professor Barungin who I gave you the contact of. I don't even know if she's alive. We started watching him, and we found out he went to Palacune, Flanopafel, actually. And so we followed him to see what we could find. Um, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. I ran into Panabon while she was doing work of her own, and uh, sorry, Panabon is what did they even call themselves? Uh, Rohelian?
Rogelio.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My name is Shaelune. Hi. Um,
I did think Lampira Flaglight was an odd name for a gnome.
I'm not very good at coming up with names on the fly, but we had to move with secret identities, which you'll see as we go. Panabon attacked two guards in the high priest's palace, for lack of a better term. But they wanted to get in for something. Naturally, I was screaming for the guards when someone killed people in front of me, and they didn't believe me. They arrested me. They threw me into jail. And I waited, and Panabon appeared to try to break me out, but I was scared, so I attacked him then. And Arturus came shortly after and released me, which I thought was nice. Until I went back to the inn we were staying in. Panabon followed. They noticed someone following me. And so I arrived at the inn. I went to my room, and this creature, it was able to detach its own hands, which came up the stairs and got into the room and tried to strangle me. Meanwhile, downstairs, Panabon was fighting the rest of it, and it had this tongue that came feet long, and attacked him. And they came up to my room. I was able to get the hands off me and stab them, I think. But we jumped out the window and ran. And that night we were on the run. Every city we've been to, there have been assassins looking for us. All Dragonborn, Darklaws, sent by the High Priest. And we finally arrived in Makuldoshta. And that's where we found Perunia, who you met, and the others that helped stop Rososi. But they traveled with us. They acted almost as bodyguards, but we were attacked again by an assassin that had a mark on him. And we knew we had to leave the city, so we went on a caravan. We stopped at Suzlum, the oasis, and there was someone in the caravan. God. She kind of looks around again, like making sure there's no one around to hear, and says, I've done some bad things now. He was a noble of some sort, Uzinda. And we found out that he was looking for runes or some kind of artifact in a cave near Suzlum. And not only that, which we could have left well enough alone, but we found out that the gnome that he was taking to guide him there, he planned to kill and leave. So we followed, we went to help. Really, he just used us to get through all the traps in the ruin. And that's where we found the tomb of well, I'm blanking on his name. The guy. I've been doing so well with these names.
Izamok.
Izamok. Izamok, one of the old demigods, and he and she looks again, like hesitantly trusting before remembering she's made this decision, and says, he had a glove of power that he would use to drain life from people. Um, we we got it. Uzenda didn't, but I killed him. Um, I tried to fix it. I couldn't. Um, so we left. And we knew people were going to be looking for Uzenda. Since again he's important. We got to Gialaluti, and people were looking for him. And therefore the gnome that was supposed to lead him there, that we did save. So we protected the gnome. More assassins came for us. We found out that Rozosi was involved in some way, so we searched his house. And we found another one of those deadomancy circles with a little charred and long dead, very few remains left, another body in his home. And something, a stone gargoyle almost, but differently shaped, came and attacked us, so we ran. And that was when what we were able to grab revealed the rest of the plans. There was a note from Flamgesu talking about the ritual. And so we realized that they had been collecting artifacts from all of the old gods, the demigods, the devils, the dirty desert devils. They each had an artifact. So these tombs were all brought to do this ritual, and that's, we knew we didn't have much time, and so we got the orcs at the lodge to help us, and a couple of people that we trusted, or didn't, we just needed the help to bring them down, and thank God we were able to. They used the battery to change. It was at the head of the river, and they were also using it to scry on us and find us, so I messed that up in Rizosi's house. But we're using it at the head of the river, and then also I don't know if it was the same colors, but inside it was around the main part of the ritual that Rizosi was doing. I was able to magically get inside that protective barrier and try to fight him, but I used all my spells. I wasn't able to stop him. But my friends did, and the thing that is the hardest is we know Flamgesu was part of this. We know the Dark Claws were, and now they've left the city, and it's easy to see, but I thought that we were building up, if we could fight back, if we could stop this, that it'd be over. But Flamgesu is still out there. He knows we're still alive. He's still hunting us. Who knows where Arturus is? And we did find out from sources, Panabon knows that more assassins are coming. We're still running. It's not over. We stopped it. We're trying to separate the artifacts, so nobody can find them again. But I just want to go home.
is rather a tale, and quite a bit of trauma for quite a short period of time, if I'm gathering correctly.
It's been about 3 months. Four, maybe.
Well, you do seem to have stumbled into something, Miss Shaelune. I am not an adventurer per se, or someone given to grand deeds. I am a tinker and inventor. But due to the work I've done, I've met quite a few people, and many of them are also adventurers, people who have experienced more of the world.
I'm not an adventurer, I'm a college student.
Well, if you could so choose, but you are having an experience that might be classified as, well, I believe most adventurers are considered adventurers after all is said and done, and all's well that ends well, and if they don't end well, they're calamities, and in the midst of them, they are whatever the hell is going on now. Um, the names that you've named, I'm Artaurus. That's rings a bell in my memory. I cannot recall exactly who, but Orososi is perhaps one of the most educated wizards throughout all of Vaishan. You appear to be hard on yourself for not being able to stop him by yourself with just your magic, but you managed to bypass his protective ward. And at the end of the day, you're sitting here with me, and he is dead.
Am I gonna go to jail?
For what? Killing Risosi? I can't imagine why. The Rotoro hasn't spoke of it, and as far as I know, he feels you've done the city a great service.
Murder is still murder.
Murder is murder, yes, but not all killing is murder. There's more to it than that. If you killed out of some sense of selfishness in order to further your own desires, but I have a sense that that is not what you're up to. Sounds like you've saved lives, but ultimately, killing is the thing you'll have to come to terms with. And I understand your story correctly, something you may be forced to do again. Now, from Gesu, that is a name I know. I am Palakar, after all. And I know well the church, the high priests. You have chosen to gain the attention of one that sits very close to the center of the church. Makes me wonder. As a hmm, as a benefit, that does mean that it'll be simple to set somebody to watch him, to learn what we can. But indeed, and it sounds like he or this Arcturus fellow um, has sent assassins after you. I believe specifically the Zezigira.
The what?
Zezigira, the zigzag men,
Oh,
some call them. And it sounds as if you have stymied their efforts at least twice. It is said that they don't fail a third time, which is likely not comforting. But you should have all the knowledge you can take going forward. Now, the these magical artifacts that you spoke of, I imagine you said that you had separated them in an attempt to ensure no one else gets their hands on them. I presume then that many or all of them are no longer in your possession, and that is fine. But if I could trouble you on the journey north to write what you know about them and any references that you know of, and pass that information along to me, and I can perhaps have someone look into what those are and where they come from,
I'll
their import.
we'll be on the train with you. We were trying to lead people to the airships to think we were leaving that way, but we'll be on the train.
Yes. And so I believe that there will be time to look over some of that, but that is not my area of expertise, and therefore it would be best if I were able to take some information with me to Grand University of Castanede in Milvid. There are people there who probably have a baseline of understanding. Um, and I'll see what else I can offer to assist you. Does sound like this is a grand conspiracy that goes far beyond the machinations of a single desert scholar. And I wonder if it goes further than that, or if it does stop at this Flumgesu.
Me too.
Do you know the history of the Dragonborn?
I've heard the legends that they appeared one day.
Yes. Almost unbelievable, their legends. And, of course, the way they speak of how they could commune directly with Melfrun, especially given that there's no proof that they had been able to do so any time that they've been here. That said, the resurgence of magic lends a lot of credence to their stories and myths. Eh?
Yeah, it's a lot easier to believe now than it was before magic.
And if that's the case, then there was a time that the Dragonborn were very powerful workers of magic. Time in their memory that's much more refreshed and recent than for the rest of us. You wonder if they truly did come to this planet in the midst of some grand battle, what they brought with them. And who has it? And if that has anything to do with all of this. Uh,
What, like, Maelfroon might be now communicating with them to take over the world?
Perhaps, if that is the sort of deity that this Melfrun is, I mean, I can't say that I have much experience in dealing with deities, though from the rumors, uh, you were traveling with one who proclaimed to serve such a deity.
Yeah, I didn't believe in gods either, until I met Aegis.
Indeed. And so, it's hard to say. It does bear looking into, but all of this is, if nothing else, brought to light in some manner. Enough to put us to work on it. Which is all I can truly promise for now.
Doing anything to try to get ahead of it is better than sitting and waiting to be attacked.
Yes, indeed. That is, those are wise words. I know. It does seem to me that you did not ask for any of this, and that were you to have your way, this would not be something you were involved in. But I do suppose that if anyone did have to be involved in this, we could do a lot worse than having someone like you.
Don't tell Panabon you said that, because they would scream.
Well, you're alive. You've had success. The odds are stacked against you. It's a pretty good track record, I'd say. So,
We've been very lucky.
hmm, perhaps luck, perhaps something more. Well, I suppose there's a lot. As noted, you'll be on the train. Bring your research.
Always.
We'll look over some of it.
All the books are getting heavy.
Well, you need not carry all of them once you've taken the information you need. Um, but I suppose then we'll see you tomorrow as we board.
Do you, perhaps we should sit separately so people don't know we're allied?
Certainly. Um, we do have our own carriage, but yes. In the meantime, um, it seems you have more use for a tool like this. He points to the small crystal ball. It's simple to operate. Well, he just kind of turns it around and shows you there's just a single button that you depress. And underneath, he flips it over, and you can see like there's a sort of a rubberized indentation in the bottom, and there's one of those blue stones shoved into it. Like maybe just like the last knuckle of your finger size.
This must be worth a fortune.
It's hard to know the value of Nazoras right now. I agree that it probably, to those who know, carries a rather hefty price, but for most people, it's not worth its weight in sand. They have no means to use it. But
Maybe since we have so much time on the train, maybe you could share your research with me about how your findings about it.
oh, certainly, absolutely, I will be happy to. It's always good to speak to somebody who's interested and has the capacity to understand.
If you have questions about magic too, I love talking about my own research.
Well, I will have questions. Of that there's no doubt. But for now, I am not as young as I used to be, and it is rather quite past my bedtime. And I have quite a day tomorrow, as do you. So,
Right. Thank you.
yes. Callus, you'll see her back to the lodge. Um, she nods, stepping forward, and he looks to you. Do take heart, Shaelune. You have done well. The Sage Rotoro, the King of Kings, said that you have done Vaishan a great service. So, don't be too hard on yourself. We'll see you on the morrow.
Have a good
And
night.
with that, he turns and walks off with his guard and leaves you standing there with Callus.